Hello to all my dear followers. Today I want to welcome you to a new chapter of What If Kurama Was Sent to the Past to Train Naruto? If you want a next chapter, just hit the like button. Now without further ado, I'll leave you with the fanfic.
Naruto enjoyed his day of rest. It was odd. Kurama didn't even try to get him to do anything. He hadn't given him an actual day like this in, well, ever. Okay, technically Kurama couldn't make Naruto do anything. But he always seemed to know exactly what to say to guilt him into doing whatever he wanted. Now he could do whatever he wanted. Okay, so what he wanted pretty much amounted to seeing what sorts of new and interesting pranks he could play with his new ninja skills. Henge became his new favorite jutsu almost immediately. Probably because pranking anybody below Chunin with lethal weaponry was a bad idea even he could see a mile away. And using non-lethal weaponry scared the hell out of civilians in a way that wasn't very fun. Making a few shadow clones that could turn into practically any object. Almost no cost, infinite opportunity. The only annoyance was when his other selves invariably came up with better ideas than he did and decided to change things on the fly. Or started pranking him instead. But at the end of the day, he really was looking forward to tomorrow. The time when he'd get an actual Jounin sensei and go on missions for real. Damn it, I forgot about this part. Kurama tuned out what was happening around Naruto. He couldn't really trust himself to comment. Naruto's male hormones were starting to kick in, and Sakura was the main target. Despite a clear lack of interest, or tact, on her part. Yet he also knew that she would eventually mellow out and be a generally decent person and team member. And he hated Uchiha Sasuke just about as much as Naruto did right now, but if they ended up on the same team again, well. Naruto had turned him around, maybe the same could be done for Sasuke before he went all missing mean and got all the stupid ideas about revenge at all costs, and later on, peace at all costs. Naruto's vision was even stupider, peace and none of the costs, but it was working. At least it was before everything went to hell. That had nothing to do with Naruto's ideals, though. His ideals were quite simply the only reason that everything had gone as well as it did. The last thing he needs right now is my cynical nonsense messing that up. Next, Team 7. Haruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke. So, the same team, huh? Probably same sensei, too. I knew that balance stuff was nonsense. So what's the real reason? Of course, Sasuke is a no-brainer. Kakashi is the only remaining Sharingan user in the village, and Sasuke was a member of the main family. It would be expected that the Dojutsu would manifest in him, and he would need coaching. Naruto, well, it was likely that someone wanted to keep an eye on him. Kakashi, while nothing compared to the power thrown around during the war, was likely the strongest Jounin at this time. Sakura, well, the village seems to like splitting up the kunoichi. Probably due to a tendency for them to have better chakra control. Or something. Maybe it's due to the fact that hormones seem to pit them against each other around this age, and forming a team with more than one is a challenge. Anyway, it was high time for a nap. Naruto groaned. He had been waiting for more than an hour, Sasuke was being a jerk like always, and Sakura was ignoring him completely. He didn't know why it would have been any different today, but he was nothing if not optimistic. He was also really bored. So he started doodling on a slip of paper. Whoever this stupid Hitaki Kakashi is, he's going to be in for it. Kakashi understood the Hokage's reasoning. He really did. But he still wasn't happy about it. Every year he was assigned a team with great potential but absolutely no concept of teamwork, just for the chance that he would be able to change that. Unlike the other times, though, this team came with consequences for failure. If he didn't wholeheartedly agree with the other team assignments, he would have demanded that it be changed to something more suitable. And if it actually worked, this team had quite the effective potential. Teams this hard-hitting were rare. Probably for this exact reason. Strength seems to have an inverse relationship with mental stability. Kakashi stopped by the entrance to Irika's classroom, pausing to hear the conversation inside. Naruto. Grow up. What? That's what he gets for making us wait so long. I'm bored. So sue me. Our sensei is a Jounin, Naruto. He's an elite ninja. He's not going to fall for something like that. So the little prankster is setting traps. Well, I'm not one to pass up a first impression. He walked calmly through the door and was immediately pummeled with sandals. Naruto's, given his bare feet. The paper strip taped to the inside of the doorframe was a good clue as to where they came from. It was a solid trap. Not one he would have actually had trouble with, but he was more interested in the new team's reactions. Haruno Sakura was cringing and apologizing for Naruto's actions. Yet he noticed that she made no effort to actually stop him physically despite her verbal protests. Naruto was just laughing at him. And Uchiha Sasuke was glaring at him, completely failing his little impromptu test. Yeah, this was going great. How shall I put this? Based on my first impression, I'd have to say, I hate you. Ah, that was better. They seemed to all understand that he was still instrumental in their upcoming ninja career. Meet me on the roof. Kurama supposed that he shouldn't have been quite as surprised that though Naruto's aspirations to become Hokage were unchanged, the rest of his likes and dislikes were quite different. Well, at least the internal ones, he told Kurama. The ones he actually said out loud he used to annoy Kakashi as much as possible. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like being honest with my comrades. I like it even better when they are honest with me. I hate it when comrades use the opportunity to get to know me to give me stupid tests. And my dream is to one day become a better shinobi than Hokage-sama, and gain that position myself. Naruto had trouble keeping a straight face as Kurama rolled around their shared mindscape laughing his tails off. Kakashi blinked a few times. I see. Sakura gaped openly at the boy next to her. Even Sasuke gave him a sidelong glance. My hobbies? I guess I like setting up pranks. And I like training, even when it's really hard. Kakashi nodded. Next. It was more of the same. This was one of the few moments that Kurama had actually paid attention to this early when he was here the last time. It seemed that whatever Kurama had done in Naruto's life, it hadn't affected the other two enough to make much of a difference. Though Sasuke gave Naruto a lot fewer dismissive looks. Sakura was just as oblivious and hyper-focused on Sasuke as ever. Kurama was proud of his student. Not only did he prepare far more thoroughly for what Kakashi had described as a survival exercise, he had also caught his lie about it not being wise to eat beforehand. Okay, it probably had something to do with a lack of trust with his introduction yesterday. Still, a more suspicious Naruto was an alive Naruto. Even though he knew that Kakashi wasn't actually that bad. Naruto. You're late. Naruto waved at Sakura and Sasuke as he walked out of the woods. Nope. Kakashi-sensei is late. So I set up traps all over the place. Come on, I'll tell you where all of them are. Kakashi watched from the bushes. Of course, he knew that Naruto was doing this, as he was doing precisely the same thing. Though perhaps not quite so enthusiastically. Does he already know what we are doing here today? I did say that it would be a survival test against me, but that sort of thing is a lot different from what they did at the academy. And with just how many explosives he was using, and how fast he was setting them, it was actually not possible for him to keep him in sight at all times. Even if he tried, there was no guarantee that he hadn't been doing this since before he got there. It would significantly hinder his mobility. Either his paranoia rivaled his own, or Naruto actually respected his skill despite falling for his earlier trap. They were only genin, though, fresh from the academy. They would still require teamwork if they wanted to get anywhere near him, traps or no. Out of all of them, Naruto seemed to be the only one that instinctively understood the concept of teamwork. Case in point, he was already notifying them of the traps he set, despite their clear lack of interest. Even if he failed the team, he would make sure that the boy got apprenticed rather than sent back to the academy. Good morning, class. The response was universal. You're late. Kakashi ignored them, sitting a clock on a tree stump. I've set this alarm to go off at noon. Right here, he raised a hand. I have 2 small bells. You must steal them from me before the timer sounds. Anyone who fails, doesn't get any lunch. Instead you will be tied to that tree stump, where I will eat your lunch in front of you. Out of the 3 of them, only Naruto seemed unaffected by this information. He certainly turned out interesting. I wonder if he called my bluff again. All you need is a single bell. But since there aren't enough to go around, well, one of you is definitely headed for the stump. Whoever that is, will be the first one to fail. On your way back to school, and disgrace. Naruto frowned, studying him carefully. You may, if you so choose, use shuriken and other sharpened weaponry. Attack me with the intent to kill, or you won't stand a chance. Sakura immediately protested. But that's dangerous. Why would? Naruto waved her off, still frowning. No, he's serious. That's why I set so many traps. This guy's an elite ninja. He's not gonna get hurt for real, you know. Sasuke gave him a sidelong glance. Did you know of this test beforehand? Naruto shrugged. I guessed. He said it was a survival test against him, so I figured we'd be fighting. Hn. He rolled his eyes. Guys, I don't think any of us will be able to get a bell on our own. I certainly can't. Sakura immediately looked at Sasuke. Do you want to team up with me? We can each get a bell, and... She trailed off. Sasuke just looked vaguely annoyed. Naruto groaned. I mean, we all need to work together. Have any of you tried to prank a jounin? He got a few blank stares. I gave up, by the way. It just doesn't happen. Sasuke frowned. Then what was that in the classroom yesterday? Naruto shrugged. I was bored. I didn't think it would actually work. Kakashi stood off to the side, bemused. On one hand, more teamwork was being suggested than he honestly expected from any team. On the other, they had completely forgotten that he was right next to them. It did work, though. We can take this guy. Sakura, we can't assume that. Ninja lie all the time. Lie about getting hit with a sandal. He groaned again. That's not what I meant. Sasuke cut in. There are only 2 bells. Why should all 3 of us help when one will automatically fail? Naruto had actually caught on to Kakashi's ruse a few minutes ago. When Kakashi said that only 9 were allowed to pass, he noticed quite quickly that the number suspiciously aligned with the 3-man teams they were organized into. He didn't actually know what the deal with his test was or why he was doing it, but he had a feeling that he would not appreciate Naruto ruining the entire thing by letting everyone know that teams were likely only passed or failed in groups. So instead, he tried a different tactic. Okay, you 2 will get the bells. I'm still helping out, though. Naruto always prided himself on his ability to cause long, awkward silences. Confused awkward silences were even better. Why? Sasuke asked suspiciously. He already had an excuse ready. I'm going to be Hokage no matter when I graduate. Naruto scratched the back of his neck. Besides, it looks like I'm the only one who actually ate breakfast. He paused, looking back at Kakashi. Oh, sensei. It's not allowed to eat during the test, is it? Kakashi blinked. No, it is not. What about food pills? Unless they are soldier pills, and a part of your attack strategy, no. Darn. Naruto looked back. Yeah, so I'm the best one for the tying up thing. I don't trust you. Why? Sasuke glared at him. You're taking all of this far too calmly. You have something planned. I know it. How can either of us trust you from not just stealing a bell from us once we get them? After all, you seem quite confident that we are much weaker than him. Naruto glanced at the clock. It was 10:14. They had a little less than 2 hours. More than enough time. Okay, if you 2 really want to try first, go ahead. Just don't tire yourselves out completely, otherwise we'll have no chance at all. Naruto received glares from both sides now. Kakashi cleared his throat. You know, you 3 can start whenever you're ready. Sasuke glanced at Sakura. Don't get in the way. Sakura hesitantly nodded, and a second later, both of them rushed into the woods on either side of their teacher. Naruto sat down in the grass and leaned back on his elbows. When around 10 seconds passed and nothing was happening, Kakashi reached into his pouch and pulled out a book, which he began to read leisurely. Shuriken flew out from the trees, and appeared to hit him solidly, and with an almost disturbing amount of blood. No, Naruto, that is the normal amount of blood. You kill animals all the time. You should know this. But the image of Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke, and a shuriken-ridden log dropped to the ground. You are a ninja. You have to get used to blood, even from a human target. I know. It's just not what I expected. I need to learn that substitution jutsu. Despite his recent shock, Naruto already had at least 6 good ideas. And the 10 minutes he spent sitting in the grass only gave him more. You need to learn the Shunshin first. And for that you need better chakra control. What? Oh, yeah. I kinda get it. You need to be fast enough to substitute stuff without people noticing. Naruto groaned and sat up. He knew that he said he would let his teammates try to attack Kakashi-sensei on their own, but something about the silence didn't feel right. All right. Sakura first. Now, where are you? It didn't take too long for him to track her down, as she did not seem to be masking her trail very well. Besides, she was still wearing perfume. Okay, he liked the actual perfume, but even he had to admit it was kinda stupid for a ninja. He didn't really think he could actually say that out loud to her, though. A scream rang out, and his face hardened. Okay, enough is enough. It is unlikely that your sensei actually harmed her severely. I know, but... Think, Kit. Naruto came quickly upon Sakura, crumpled haphazardly on the ground. She had no visible injuries. Right, Genjutsu. Naruto remembered that from class. None of it was actually taught at the academy, just ways to fight it. But the subject was a lot less interesting when Kurama mentioned that with him inside, he was practically immune. And actually using it required very precise chakra control. But to wake up a teammate was simple. Kai. Naruto pushed a palm into her back, and released a large burst of unfocused chakra. Sakura's eyes popped open. What? Where's Sasuke? Naruto helped her up. Genjutsu. What did you see? Sasuke, he. The context was not hard to figure out from the expression on her face. I guess I'm not the only one that was a little freaked out to see Kakashi like that. Don't worry, Kakashi's our sensei. Even if we fail, I don't think he'll go that far. Sakura looked at him closely. Why did you help me? I thought you were going to wait until we failed. Her eyes widened. Did we fail? Naruto shook his head. No. I just got impatient. Only a little true. How did you get separated? Sakura looked down. I'm not as fast as Sasuke is. Don't worry about it. Now, we'll need a plan against this guy. Anything you notice about him? She sighed. Not really. I don't know how much of it was real, if I got caught in a genjutsu. I do know he's fast, though. I knew ninja could be powerful, but it's the first time I've seen it in person. Naruto nodded. All right. Then a simple plan will be fine. I'll distract him, you and Sasuke get the bells. Sakura looked away slightly. I don't think Sasuke really likes working with other people. Well, he still wants to get a bell, so that's what he'll already be doing. I'm sure he'll listen to me if he already wants to do the thing I'm telling him. And, you still want both of us to get the bells? Sure. Getting Sakura to look underneath the underneath would have to come later. He could already hear the sounds of fighting. FOOM. Whoa. Wow, fire jutsu. I knew Sasuke was good, but I didn't expect that. Naruto shook his head. That wouldn't matter to a ninja like Kakashi. Fire jutsu were better used for area denial or distraction rather than direct damage due to their slow travel time. He was still kinda annoyed that Kurama didn't let him learn any elemental jutsu yet. It was not like it was hard to steal stuff from the library. Stay in the trees, Sakura. I'll distract him. You'll know when to attack. He almost went to go, but paused and looked back. But just in case, don't start until something explodes. She nodded. Right. He walked out into the clearing where Sasuke's head was sticking out of the ground. Likely an earth jutsu. Kakashi. Come out and fight me like a man. He grinned, raising a fist to the sky. As soon as Kakashi walked out to admonish him, he formed a seal. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Around 50 clones poofed into existence around him and most of them rushed immediately at his teacher. Naruto himself with the help of a few more pulled Sasuke out of the ground. Changed my mind. Distraction. Wait for the explosion. Sasuke glared at him, but nodded. In the chaos, a few clones escaped into the forest. Naruto grinned and launched into the ongoing attack with the rest of his clones. Even with his higher-than-average taijutsu ability, they were getting poofed right and left. Naruto expected this. He also planned on getting his non-clone ass handed to him. He was counting on it, in fact. So when a clone circled around into Kakashi's blind spot rigged with about 20 exploding tags, his attention would be on lecturing what he knew for a fact to be the real Naruto, who was conveniently just outside the explosion radius. Kakashi barely got singed. But that was also to be expected. It was his throbbing headache and ringing ears that were the real advantage. And he took time to compliment Naruto on his trap. Teachers were so easy to predict. So between his dulled senses, disorientation, and current distraction, Sakura was able to be just sneaky enough to grab the bells and toss one to a distinctly annoyed Sasuke. Kakashi rubbed his head. Good one. Sasuke still glared at the kunoichi. I could have done that, too. I know. I just felt like I should contribute something. And if I failed, I'm sure you could have done it even when he was a bit more aware. Kakashi ignored them and gave a significant look to Naruto. You know what this means for you, don't you? Naruto nodded, a slight smile on his face. Kakashi sighed. This kid is going to be the death of me. Naruto smiled as he stood up, tied with rope to the thick wooden post, and his teammates ate beside him. Their sensei was nowhere to be found, probably off eating his own lunch, but he wasn't worried. Sasuke growled. I don't get you. Why are you so happy? Why did you help me? Why did you help both of us get the bells like that? You're going to get sent back to the academy with nothing to show. Sakura cringed. I hate to say it, but you helped me so much back there. I don't think I would have had a chance without you there. And that thing you did with your clones, you shouldn't be the one that gets sent back to the academy. Even though that would mean that I would lose this golden opportunity with Sasuke. Arg, this isn't fair. Naruto looked at each of them in turn. Sakura. Sasuke, did you stop to consider why they divided the class into teams? Sakura frowned. Well, there aren't enough jounin to teach us all individually. And you said earlier, this test wouldn't be possible without all three of us. Have you ever heard of a ninja taking a mission alone? Okay, sure, only one ninja might survive. Sakura cringed, and Naruto kicked himself mentally, remembering the genjutsu. Not the time. But even the Hokage has advisors. Ninja are stronger when they work together. I work better alone. Others just get in my way. Naruto just gave Sasuke a glance. He didn't have to say anything. It communicated his thoughts perfectly. And just where did that get you? That's when you help your comrades get stronger. More than physical training, that was the core of what Kurama was trying to teach him. Of course, this Naruto didn't realize that much of the curriculum was ripped directly from his own older self's mind. He probably wouldn't have needed teaching if Naruto at this point even knew what a comrade was. Everybody ignored him other than the Hokage, Kurama, and later, Iruka-sensei. But he was getting closer and closer to gaining two more, and he wasn't going to give up when that goal was still in sight. Sakura was rather naive, but she was the sort of book-smart Naruto wasn't. And aside from her good looks, he was starting to see the beginnings of if not friendship, at least mutual respect, something he got from few classmates. And Sasuke, well, as much as he wanted to hate him, he was the only other classmate that understood the meaning of pain. He was still an ass, though. Sasuke's arm stretched out, half of his meal still in his hand. Naruto blinked. What? Are you giving that to me? His stomach growled, and Sasuke hadn't retracted his arm. You need that more than I do. I ate my breakfast. Besides, what if Kakashi-sensei sees you? I'm already full. Sasuke didn't say anything else. Thanks. Sakura looked down at her own empty meal. Sorry, I'd give you some of mine, too, but... Naruto chuckled in between bites. I get it. I'll be fine with this. She smiled sheepishly. Maybe I shouldn't have been dieting so much. Sasuke glanced at Naruto. That doesn't completely explain the test. If it was designed with teams in mind, why only 2 bells? Boom! Kakashi appeared in front of them in an explosion of smoke and wind, an expression of utter fury on his face. You! Pass! Sakura blinked rapidly. Naruto smirked. Sasuke nodded. Kakashi's expression changed from livid to mild cheer in an instant. Naruto here has the right idea. The rest of you have taken your first big step in the correct direction. Before now, you have followed my instructions to the letter, without question. You are indeed taught to follow orders. But a true shinobi seeks for hidden meanings within hidden meanings. You must look underneath the underneath. Naruto glanced at his stomach suspiciously. I know, Kit. I plagiarized. So sue me. In the ninja world, those who break the rules, are scum. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Sakura gasped. Oh. Sasuke glanced between them, then nodded. This exercise is now concluded. You all pass. That will be all for today. Team 7, your duties start tomorrow. Naruto groaned, rubbing the fading scratches across his face and neck. Ugh, I hate D-rank missions. They're, like, chores, but a lot more annoying. You do get paid. Quite generously for how easy they are. I would think you would be all for this sort of thing, Naruto. Naruto looked at his teacher strangely. What? Why? Kakashi shrugged. You're the one that lectured the rest of the team about the importance of working together. Surely you don't expect that to come instantly. Okay, Naruto could kind of see that now. Besides, you get paid to do it. At the same time, neither of his teammates seemed to care that much about money, and with the way Sasuke's scowl was directed at Kakashi, it seemed that he felt the same way as Naruto did. While they were certainly getting better at working together, and even gaining some practical experience with group ninja protocol, they weren't exactly getting stronger either. And now that they all knew what a ninja like Kakashi was capable of, they had to work together to even touch him. For goodness sake, they were all painfully aware of just how far behind they were. Sasuke for his revenge against his brother, Naruto for his goal of Hokage, and Sakura because she had very suddenly realized that practical skills were much more important than theoretical knowledge in an actual mission, even if Naruto kept insisting that she was valuable and important to the team. Naruto looked up. Hey, sensei. Can we take a break from missions and work on training? Kakashi blinked. Sasuke shot him a grateful look. We can still do teamwork stuff, but we get stronger, so we can do better missions. There may come a time when you are grateful for a D rank. Kakashi was still unsure just how Naruto managed to buy the kind of ninja tools he was using without money from any D ranks. He must either have been the most frugal 12-year-old he had ever met, or he wasn't eating well. He should probably look into that. Yeah, but that's not now. It's not like older ninja can't do D ranks, right? Can we go do training or not? I really want to learn stuff like the Shunshin. The Kawarimi, the replacement jutsu, was his original interest in the technique, but Kurama had been telling him stories about his father, and how certain ninja used it. Nobody actually knew his father's much superior Hirashin technique or how it worked, other than with seals, but using chakra to enhance his speed, even if it was only for a second, was invaluable. Especially if he got good enough to use it in combat. Only if your teammates agree. Sasuke gave a short nod. Sakura hesitated a bit more, looking at each of them, before nodding as well. I see. Training it is, then. Meet me at the 5th training ground in 5 minutes. For once, Kakashi wasn't late. And this time, he wasted no time messing around. You might think that I am here to teach you 3 new jutsu. He looked pointedly at Naruto. You would be incorrect. Why not? Kakashi leaned up against a tree. Because you still need to learn the basics. There was a round of general indignation. Even Sakura didn't look happy. But sensei, none of us were slouches in the academy. Even Naruto passed the written tests, and I've gotten a lot better at sparring. Hey! I'm not trying to insult you, Naruto, you're just more of a physical learner. The academy does not teach nearly enough. 3 sets of eyes jumped back to their teacher. That's my opinion, anyways. Standards fall in time of peace, yada yada. The point is, while the academy teaches the basics of weapon usage and hand-to-hand combat quite well, it barely touches on ninjutsu at all, and genjutsu even less. It teaches just the bare minimum of chakra control. Just enough to find it. Only the basics of using it. So today we're going to be climbing trees. Naruto turned his attention inward. Chakra control. You said I'm terrible at that. You do need the practice. And he's right. You need it if you want to be any good at ninjutsu. But can't I learn? With shadow clones, the only thing you need to pay attention to is efficiency. You might create a few clones more or less than intended, but it's no big deal. You put too much chakra into a body flicker, well, with your chakra levels, and your lack of control, you'll run into a tree and die from the impact. Naruto gulped. Right. He looked back up at his team, who looked just about as confused as he was about Kakashi's statement. Being stupidly vague was probably a sensei thing, Naruto reflected. So, how does climbing trees help with chakra control? I climb trees all the time, but I'm not very good at chakra control. Simple. You aren't going to be using your hands. And with that, he very slowly but deliberately walked up the tree. Ah! Naruto was quite familiar with pushing himself off things with chakra. Most ninja did, even if in many academy students it wasn't entirely conscious. Sticking to something, however. So how do we do that? To the surprise of absolutely no one, Sakura got it in no time at all. It took her about 3 tries total. So she went off to do other training with Kakashi while Naruto and Sasuke ran up trees over and over. It wasn't like Naruto was unaware of what he was doing wrong. Each time he failed, he knew that either he was slipping due to using pretty much no chakra, or flying backwards because he was making small explosions beneath his feet. Something he did every day to get around. It was even more irritating that the gap between his and Sasuke's ability was only growing the longer they practiced. His occasional smug glances were a perfect motivator. And after Sasuke was done, it was even more of a shock to hear that they were learning water walking next. Naruto didn't even know that was a thing ninja could do. Naruto was there for a long time afterwards. Kakashi had actually called it a day quite a while ago, but Naruto had snuck back to the train almost immediately afterwards. I can sleep in a tree when I'm done. The next day they were all falling into the lake together. As expected, Sakura was having much more success with this than either Naruto or Sasuke, but only Naruto really seemed to take the constant failure in stride. As Kakashi had explained, this was not a matter of learning the theory, studying the movement, and then executing the technique, as many low-level, and even more complex, jutsu required. This was about intuition as much as it was about chakra control. It also required a lot more control than the tree climbing stuff, so Naruto sucked at it even worse. He could stand on the water, and even predict where he would need to direct his chakra, but actually moving it precisely enough to work was beyond him. It sucked, especially when Sakura finished and went off with Kakashi again, but Naruto could definitely see why they were doing it. He could only manage to keep his balance for about 3 seconds, but a quick test of his shadow clone technique showed him that the training was working already. The same amount of chakra produced almost twice as many clones. Of course, this meant that he would have to get used to the technique all over again, but the stark difference helped quite a bit with his motivation. Naruto was about to dispel his clones when Kurama stopped him. Kit, wait. Your clones can manipulate the chakra you give them. Yeah, so. Sasuke looked at him strangely as he crawled back out of the lake again. Naruto's voice dropped. What are you getting at? You remember what your clones do. Duh. Put 2 and 2 together, idiot. Naruto frowned. He was used to this treatment, of course. Kurama didn't like to give straight answers, ever. When it came to training, that is. He stated his opinion on things quite bluntly otherwise. So what did he say? My clones can do jutsu and stuff, and I remember stuff when they go away. Naruto smacked himself in the forehead. Ah, right. Thanks, sensei. With another seal, the 10 clones already standing around were joined by 20 more. Enough to stand all along the lake's edge, but not enough to completely crowd Sasuke out and annoy him. Just don't give yourself chakra exhaustion. Drowning would be incredibly inconvenient. Sasuke himself raised an eyebrow at the new clones, but as soon as they started trying to walk on the lake, he simply nodded and ignored them again. Training was still annoying for Naruto, as half of the time, falling into the water would produce enough of an impact to knock out the clone. But it was a lot faster. This time, when Sasuke succeeded, Naruto was right behind him. Kakashi still refused to teach them a new jutsu, though. Not yet, at least. I want you two to think long and hard on what kind of shinobi you want to be. You both did well in the academy, so you should know that specialists come in all forms. Make sure you take your own current abilities in consideration. He turned to Sasuke. For example, though you do not have the Sharingan, it is likely that it will manifest at some point. Precision and control are key aspects. Genjutsu as well, though the Sharingan's variants are often significantly different than traditional kinds. And Naruto. You have mastered the use of the Shadow Clone Jutsu to an impressive degree, and have a chakra pool several times greater than my own. Naruto blinked. Wait, really? But you're super strong. You will likely be quite effective at using misdirection to make more powerful, but slower jutsu hit for more devastating effect. Naruto frowned. While that made sense, and would actually be a rather useful strategy if he was meant to use some of the more complicated seals in combat, it wasn't what he had in mind. Still, sealing was his highest priority. At least until Kurama had a reasonable amount of freedom. No matter. Spend a good deal of time thinking about your decisions, and meet me back here in the morning. And remember that honing your basic skills can be far more valuable than a new jutsu. What about Sakura? She hasn't started learning any jutsu, either. She recognizes her current weaknesses and is eliminating them. Though I believe she is beginning to understand where she wants to go. So, what about learning a basic jutsu? The ones I see all sorts of ninja using, like the Shunshin, you know. Kakashi looked at Naruto carefully. No. And with a puff of smoke, he was gone. What am I supposed to do now? I don't care. Go climb a cliff with one hand or something. You can't teach me more about sealing stuff. I already finished the storage seal. I need more if I'm gonna make that seal for you. Jiraiya will be likely arriving soon. He will be more equipped to teach you. Aside from some theory, I have very little practical seals for you to learn. Are you sure there isn't something else I can do to prepare? I want to do this as soon as I can, you know. Kurama sighed. All right, there is one thing. I am unsure that when the seal's barriers are down, that you will be able to handle my chakra. Naruto frowned. What do you mean by that? Your chakra network has adapted to the chakra required to maintain my seal. However, it has not adapted to using my chakra, as I have not been actively trying to force my way out. There will be a time that I will be happy to lend you my full power, but it is likely that doing so would have drastic effects on your body. It is also uncertain to me where that lethal point would be. I like you, Naruto. Other ninja are a different matter, but I don't want you to die. Ever. He wasn't going to mention it to Naruto, or anyone for that matter, but a nagging thought had made its way into his head. He had never been dispelled before. He did not know what it was supposed to be like. The battlefield of the Fourth Great Shinobi War was full of space-time altering jutsu. He did not know what happened to send him back in time. If that Naruto was not back here with him, it was likely that he had died. Kurama didn't like thinking about the concept. Okay, so, what do we do? The seal is still there. Simple. I start pushing out chakra. You train with it. Really? That's it? Yes. The difficulty is that I am a being of chakra. No matter how much I try to separate it, my will is going to inevitably be mixed in. So. I don't think there's a problem, you know. Naruto. I may no longer want to slaughter every ninja on the face of the planet, but I'm not easy to get along with. You will likely need to control my anger. Oh. Okay, yeah, I get it now. Even though Naruto had decided long ago to forgive the citizens of the village for the way they treated, and continued to treat, him, there were many occasions that Kurama's own anger was so intense that he felt himself struggle to unclench his fists at the sight of them. And if he hadn't even been pushing out any chakra. You have a strong will of your own. I have confidence that you will succeed. So, why didn't you start this training earlier? Because I am still unsure that I should be teaching you about this. Tools are meant to be used, and this particular one is too useful. In fact, the only reason I am considering such training is that I can enforce that you only use my power during training, or if your life is in real and immediate danger. Why not? Because I said so, that's why. Oh. Naruto still wasn't completely satisfied, but he had long learned that pressing further wasn't really in his best interest at this point. Kurama seemed to notice this. Listen, Kit. I want us to be a team of two. I may be powerful, but in the shinobi world, there are no shortcuts. Or rather, there are, but they almost invariably lead to death. Or insanity. If you start throwing around my power, and you don't have the skill to back it up, you're going to get caught off guard, die, and I won't be able to do a damn thing about it. But if you don't train using my power, you'll be in just as much trouble. So let's get going. Kurama-sensei, is it alright if I take a break for a few minutes? Kakashi-sensei. Do you know anything about sealing? I see that you have thought about your future. Though you may find that you struggle with sealing. Naruto frowned. Wait, really? Why? Chakra control. Most complex, battle-ready seals require quite a lot of it. Though if you are creative enough with your clones, and have quite a lot of spare ink, that may not be a problem. Certainly, your large reserves would be helpful as well. So, should I do it or not? Kakashi gave a small shrug. That's up to you. Oh, and I can't teach you seals. There are a few people who know the basics, but I am not one of them. I know a few specific and useful seals, sure, but I won't be able to teach you in the proper way. There are no seal masters that currently live in the village. Naruto groaned. Ugh. I really don't want to wait for that Jiraiya guy. Is there anyone who knows anything beyond explosive tags and storage scrolls? Kakashi's eye flicked over the scroll tucked in his uniform, and his mind went back to the many traps he had been setting before the bell test. Ah. So those were all homemade. Naruto's financial situation had shifted from make sure he isn't a kleptomaniac to vaguely worrying. He would be worried that Naruto had been practicing dangerous jutsu without instruction or supervision, but if he had gotten the attention of Jiraiya. Yeah, if you ever need some explosive tags, I can make them pretty easy. He nodded. You do have the chakra for it. You don't want to be paid? Naruto smirked. I may trade some for Shunshin training. Kakashi's eye hinted at his smile. I suppose that could be arranged. He turned to the lake. How long can you stay on the surface? Naruto understood. Kurama already told him that a lack of control with that particular jutsu was dangerous. I can stay however long I want, and I can walk and stuff, but I don't think I could spar or anything like that. He shrugged. Good enough. The first thing you must understand is that while it might be relatively easy to increase your speed with chakra, increasing your perception speed or reaction time is almost impossible without some sort of bloodline limit. Therefore, the real difficulty of this jutsu is knowing where you are, where you want to be, and know exactly how much chakra you must channel and for how long. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Oh. Yeah. It gets even more complex if you decide to use it for more than straight-line distances. Significantly more dangerous. You will not use this on more than a flat plane until I say so, got it? Yes, sensei. Kakashi slipped his book back into his pouch. Now, the first step. Learning the Shunshin was frustrating, to say the least. As expected, Naruto constantly channeled too much chakra and went far more than intended. It wasn't like he physically couldn't channel less chakra, but unlike the much simpler clones, which he still had trouble with, this technique was complicated enough where he had to channel more to get it working at all. He could indeed channel less, but not very controllably. The technique would just fail. The second problem was, well, he kept tripping. Even on flat ground, he traveled so fast that he had no time to react to anything, or even just place his feet correctly. Idiot. Stop running. What? Kakashi looked up from his book. Did you say something, Naruto? Naruto grinned awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. No. What are you talking about? That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Kid, if you complain about the speed, just go slower. But you need to train your reaction speed. So go slower. Simple. Naruto tried again. There was a new furrow in the ground. Slower. He tried again. Take a leisurely walk. The hell? Just do it. You have to start somewhere. Naruto activated the jutsu, walking as slowly as his patience would allow. Due to his experiences in sealing, this was significantly slower than it was a year ago. He blurred 3 meters ahead. Hey! It worked. Kakashi looked up from his book, intrigued. Interesting strategy. Most ninja just jump until they get used to the speed. Naruto's face faltered. Seriously? I could have just done that the whole time. Trust me, kid. This way is better. Don't you want to be able to fight at this speed? Yeah, I guess so. Just tell me when you're bored of practicing. I have one more technique I want to show you before you go on missions. Just now. I thought you taught me every jutsu you knew about. Or knew how to teach, at least. You already know the jutsu. But this will help you avoid needing my power. It just occurred to me as I recalled a certain memory. Huh. I already know the jutsu. So what are you going to teach me? Strategy. Now again. You aren't going to train your reaction speed by just standing around. Right. Naruto blurred again. Kakashi observed Naruto practice. His strategy was certainly an interesting one. Even without his Sharingan, he could see Naruto's movement. Most ninja just used smaller amounts of chakra, or jumped as he described. But Naruto just slowed himself physically. Counterintuitive, perhaps, for a technique that increased your speed. But Naruto seemed to have a different idea in mind than most ninja who learned this technique. When he had taught him the technique, that included masking his exit with smoke and leaves. But Naruto had almost immediately discarded that portion entirely. And now he was taking things as slow as possible. Now, he wasn't even trying to go in a straight line. He was attempting right-angle turns, and even turning back the way he came mid-dash. The only way those were even possible, even in the half-success as Naruto was demonstrating, was if he was gripping the ground like wall walking. Which required concentration in itself. Naruto was not practicing a quick getaway jutsu. He was trying to increase his speed as a whole. The more he watched, the longer Naruto actually held the jutsu. Which wasn't even part of what he taught. It was supposed to be a quick burst of chakra, gathered and released. Not held for 5 entire seconds. Kakashi was not unfamiliar with the concept of these sorts of battle techniques. His own lightning cutter increased his speed by a ludicrous amount, the only reason that it was viable for assassination with all the light and sound it made. But even with the Sharingan, it was difficult to avoid tunnel vision. Though other ninja had managed to attain that speed without a Sharingan. Well, at the very least, it will be a learning experience for the boy. Okay, Kakashi is off our collective ass, probably teaching that Uchiha brat something. Let's move on. You can train some more later. Naruto smirked. Or he's just confident I won't kill myself if left unsupervised for more than 3 seconds. He had picked up a few traits from his first sensei. Probably a bit of both. Now listen. Henge. What is it used for? Disguise? Making sure you aren't recognized and stuff. It only really works on civilians, though. Not unless you only need it for a few seconds. It works better if you aren't using a disguise that wears orange. Still, you are somewhat right. Unless a ninja also suppresses their chakra, it's a pretty bad disguise. assuming the enemy ninja is not a sensor. And it's almost useless to ask you to suppress your chakra. You are already suppressing mine. Though perhaps you should not be basing your expectations on ANBU forces. Or the Hokage. As long as you act as expected, it is still quite possible to escape notice. So what are you getting at? It's pretty good as a distraction sometimes, but it's not exactly a good jutsu or anything. Uses a lot of chakra too, especially if I'm trying to be an adult. Almost as much as my clones. And there it was. Kurama's confirmation. He had been hoping that his memory hadn't been faulty. It didn't make too much sense that Naruto performed an even less chakra-intensive jutsu than the normal clones with better reliability than half the class. Naruto grinned. Though my sexy jutsu has some pretty great uses. Kurama rolled his eyes inside Naruto's gut. Even with his direct influence, it seemed that Naruto still was just as innocently perverted as ever. Like, even before puberty hit. It was weird. The jutsu did admittedly work on quite a few powerful ninja. Unfortunately, most of the ninja it worked on were allies. At the same time, he was a little disappointed that Naruto hadn't figured out anything wrong with what he said. Especially since Naruto knew that his clones were exhausting for practically any other ninja. Kurama didn't point that out, though. Naruto could marvel at his own stupidity later. So, what if you transform into a rock? Or perhaps a shuriken? Naruto shrugged. I dunno. Never thought about it. A rock might be good camouflage, though. Do it then. Henge. A rock now dropped to the ground with a loud thud. They were also blind. Though the vibrations caused by the ground and wind were certainly an interesting sensation. And from what Kurama could sense of their new body, the rock was about the same weight as Naruto. It was smaller in size, though. Mass-based, not size-based. Interesting. Make the rock smaller. Another poof, and a smaller version of the same rock fell and rolled a little on the grass. This one was actually lighter. Drop it. With a final poof, Naruto was restored, and so was their vision. Sensei, that was kinda weird. It certainly was. Now, was there anything different about the second transformation? It used more chakra. Naruto scratched his head. Sorry, I can never get it to use the same amount of chakra unless I practice the same transformation over and over. You did nothing wrong, Naruto. That is a simple function of the jutsu. That's not the point of this lesson. Now think of this scenario. You are tied up, and an enemy is about to score the final blow on you. How do you proceed? Naruto frowned. What? The ropes, Naruto. How do you get out? But I need time for that. Kurama groaned. Do I really have to tell you everything outright? Turn into a rock, idiot. Naruto blinked. Oh. Wow, that's a lot easier. Really, Naruto. Hey, it's not my fault. There were all sorts of classes on getting out of traps, and this wasn't even mentioned once. Why wouldn't everybody just do that? Not everyone thinks, Naruto. While it is okay to build off others' knowledge, you need to understand how to step back and think of alternatives when necessary. Others, even respected ninja, can be wrong, or have ideas that are not fully optimized. That sounds hard, you know. Trust other people, but find something better as often as you can. Okay, that makes more sense. Why didn't you just say that? In this case, I think it's a matter of you using an entirely different jutsu. Wait, what? Remember your jutsu teacher before Iruka? Naruto made a face. Yeah, him. He taught you the wrong seals. He gaped. Why didn't you tell me, then? There was a mental shrug. It was working. Kurama. Plus, Kit, I knew that if you used the correct seals, you would be overloading it just as badly as the clones. Okay. So what does this have to do with it being a different jutsu? Your henge uses up a lot more chakra, and is entirely solid. Solid? It actually changes your shape. It doesn't for other people. No, it does not. Naruto gasped. So you're saying? I made up my own jutsu. A grin spread across his face. I don't actually know. Other Jinchuriki like yourself have, adapted to their captives. Gained a few powers independent of our actual chakra. That power could be one of mine. You don't know. I have spent very little of my life actually outside a host. Naruto looked down. Oh. Don't worry about it, Kit. Not your fault. Now, I want you to understand something. What else was different about your second transformation? Well, I was smaller. And it used more chakra. So, the reason it was more difficult is because I was smaller. That is true, but not the lesson I wanted you to take away from this. Do rocks perform hand seals? He gasped. Yeah, you don't need them. Now, for most jutsu, it is possible to negate the need for seals. But I don't think you needed them in the first place. Seriously, why couldn't you have told me this before, you know? Didn't think it was important. Or rather, Naruto didn't actually use the technique that much, other than right after he left the academy. And he only used it once in a way sufficiently interesting. I still can't really use it in front of others, can I? Why do you say that? Well, it's an advantage. Something secret. And you told me to always keep stuff like my sealing secret, so it was a surprise for enemies. This is just similar enough where most won't question it until it's too late. And Kakashi, well, he knows that I'm inside you. Many adults will look over a little strangeness in your particular case. Naruto suddenly grinned. Hey, Kurama. You feel everything I do, right? When I'm paying attention, yes. Why? A poof of smoke erupted around them, and they were suddenly much closer to the ground. Naruto brought a paw in front of his face. This better? And Naruto. Kakashi slipped away as silently as he could. The henge did not work that way. And from the rather worrying one-sided conversation he witnessed, Naruto not only had another teacher, but, well, there were very few parties it could reasonably be, and the most likely one was possibly the worst one to have. The Naruto-sized fox was not a good sign, either. Even if it only had one tail. Kakashi. The Hokage looked up. Ah, I see. You have noticed too. Yes, I am aware. It worries me as well. Now, tell me everything you heard. Naruto found himself eating dirt almost immediately. He may have known how Kurama looked, or more applicably, how red foxes looked, since he didn't actually want to alarm too many people if he was seen, but he certainly didn't know how to move like one. He couldn't speak, either. Only make fox noises, which were stranger than he expected. He could yip, but that was about as close to a dog as the sounds got. I wish I could just give control to you for a bit. I know, Kit. Thank you. Still want to get used to this, though. It is possible, you know. What? To switch places. The seal needs to be much looser, though. Oh. Naruto paused, thinking. But that's for later. Now, we get some dinner. Naruto looked up at the sun's position. But it's so early. Kurama smiled. Do you really think you'll have a successful hunt if you can barely walk? Naruto gave a monkey-like fox laugh. Okay, you got me there. And you'd better be pushing on that seal. I want something to show Jiraiya, you know. Jiraiya followed the fox from a safe distance. Was Minato right? Is it him? He somehow wanted the boy to control the fox's power, but by all accounts, he had done one better. It was worrying. He could easily be manipulated, rather than friends with the beast. But at the same time, if the boy could manage to befriend a tailed beast, well then, peace might not be too far-fetched an idea. If Naruto was being tricked, though, there was no way he should loosen the seal. It was curious, though, that Naruto showed none of the overwhelming power that usually came with being a Jinchuriki. Just this odd power of his that took barely any energy at all. The name Naruto gave to the beast. Kurama. Was it possible that a force of nature like the Kyuubi had one? Or was this just a boy giving a name to someone he liked? If it was the former, what about Naruto was so special that he was the only one to know it? There was also the fact that Minato had given a purposefully faulty seal on the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The most powerful tailed beast by a wide margin. Anything less than a perfect seal, well, it wouldn't go well. It wasn't supposed to go well at least. Jiratora explained that the circumstances of the sealing were rushed to begin with. Jiraiya had expected to need to immediately tighten it. He had been preparing to return to Konoha for that very reason before the Hokage had summoned him. He wasn't sure what to think now. He had heard that his godson wanted to learn sealing. But sealing was not something that was emphasized in the academy. If it was still mentioned at all, he was excited and a little proud that someone would want to walk in his footsteps. But that feeling was now thoroughly tempered. It was a lot harder to hunt as a fox. Okay, that wasn't completely true. Once he got over his difficulty with movement, and realized that he could still use ninja techniques like tree walking, it was even easier to be stealthy, and stalk his prey. But he couldn't exactly throw kunai. Easy meals like birds were right out, unless he caught them before they were in the air. It was only when it was starting to get dark, and his stomach was protesting that Naruto finally understood what Kurama was doing. He had always complained to Naruto that it was hard to keep him motivated with training. Ichiraku ramen was a good motivator, but doing that every day was hard. And while Naruto really did want to get stronger, something that, abstract, was hard to get excited for. You really want me to get good like this, don't you? Ichem. You sound like Sasuke. Brat. But if you like to stay like this, I want to, you know. It's a good form to evade suspicion, especially if you make yourself a little smaller than this. Okay. It's also good for stealth. Sure. Brat. Naruto couldn't stop a grin from forming. Whatever you say, sensei.